Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to our third episode of the Overcrank. And we already have a special guest. Colden is joining Brent and I today. Colden, introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name's Colden. I'm a filmmaker. I spent 15, 20 years out in Los Angeles making movies and working on commercial projects. Moved recently. I do a lot of podcasting and YouTube creation. I help creators, and then I'm also, doing it for myself. Host a podcast with my buddy Jake as well, and stoked to come hang out with you guys at the moment.
Yeah, it was totally awesome. I happened to run across one of his YouTube rants on the same stuff Brent and I were ranting about. I like, well, we're kindred spirits. We need to talk.
Yeah, I appreciate you were like on the gentle end of the comment section. You were definitely on the gentle side of the spectrum, because that video that was talking about GoPro, and it inspired a lot of people. That was an interesting one to dive into.
Yeah. GoPro fanboys are serious. Brent's still a GoPro fanboy, even with all their misgivings.
And Brent, I appreciate you so much for that.
Yeah, I have so many. I feel like, you know what? I'll just stick with them for now until they're broken, which we talked about. Like, I still haven't broken one. So really, I'm not using it enough. Yeah.
Dude, that's impressive. I've broken a couple, and I'm with you. Like, I have a lot of GoPros. That was like how I started this rant. If you like, Todd, you saw it, you can attest. Like, I was like, I have a lot of these things. I just have some questions about the new one, which I still have questions about, but we don't have to get into that here.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll link your show. People could watch your episode. We'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, you can go leave all your angry comments on that show, because it's already aggregated and collected. Like, I'm on some radar for that clip for sure. And weirdly, the short that I put out before that was like popping off again over the weekend. And it's so funny because the whole point was like saying, hey, this is a pattern break of GoPro, and everybody on the short, because it's like, how much can you explain in 30 to 60 seconds on YouTube? So everybody was like, dude, that's an NDA. I was like, I know what an NDA is, bro. I'm talking about why the NDA now. So yes, go leave your hate on that.
Well, again, as I always chuckle at when I see people take the time to say negative things or give you a thumbs down, you're like, thanks for the interaction. You're only helping my channel.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't mind
and it is an amazing way for us to just like chat back and forth without like, blowing up our phones, like yelling at each other that way. It's like the comment exists for a reason. The comment section goes deep.
I actually, I dug into this on our last show on Jake and Mai's podcast called The Creative Lens, but like, I actually genuinely enjoy the community, like the filmmaking community on YouTube, whether you like hate my take or you love it, whatever. Like, the fact that it's such an engaging community, a lot of times on the content space, on the marketing space, we're like trying to figure out how to create engagement, trying to create reactions. And we have a great community, very outspoken. They will tell you what you think. But that part of the community is so cool, because not every community is like that. So I genuinely appreciate our filmmaking community, especially here on YouTube,
Yeah.
Even the super vocal ones. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Everybody's super vocal.
It was funny because I recently roasted this one dude a little bit, but I said no hate. See, he was reviewing this really cool motorized slider that somebody came out with. I can't remember the name of it. And you could he was like recreating like a $10,000 camera move with like a big robot with this thing, because you could hang the pocket upside down and have it track while it was moving in a different direction. And he was like, this is so great because like it's so light and small, you can pack it easily. And I was like, I see what you're saying, and no hate, but what backpack did you use for the C-stands?
Right.
I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, that's true. We could mount it on a pole or something. I'm like, okay, that gotcha. Yes, you could do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so today we've got some interesting topics. We're still kind of reeling in all of the post and NAB bliss. I didn't get to go this year, but I do love going to NAB, and I got to try to figure out how to get out there next year. But we found some interesting things that came out of it. And Colden, you found one that it kind of blew my mind, because I hadn't seen this one about that Rode mic. Talk about it.
Yeah, so I was trying to kind of break down what I thought was the most unique kind of companies and products that have been coming out of either NAB or like just in general, like who in our community, in the production line of community, is actually listening to filmmakers and coming out with stuff that we need. and can use. And Rode's one of those companies where, and I can like preface this by saying I'm actually kind of an anti-Rode guy, or I have been. Like, they came out with the Rodecaster. Well, I had like Focusrite preamps that I liked better, and then they came out with their video switcher, and I said, well, but I have an ATEM and that works better. I have their original like Rodecaster mics, but I like what DJI built with them better. So I've always been like, yeah, but what are you like? I've got something else better. But over the last like year, they've impressed me so much with a bunch of their products that they are legitimately listening to what the community needs, what's evolving, like what will make our lives better. For instance, one thing that they just released, I don't know if you guys like it came across your radar, but they have like it's a fully digital ATEM switcher. It's just got HDMI's in. You don't have any physical buttons, but it like connects if you already have a Rodecaster. So like if you don't need a full ATEM, here's something that like you don't have to go rebuy. I'm a huge fan of when you don't have to, like when a company doesn't sell you like the whole new ecosystem, they actually sell you things that you can adapt and integrate into what you already have. So that kind of made me start paying attention. I was like, shoot, okay, maybe I got to pay attention to what Rode's doing in the video switching space. And then at NAB, I was talking to my buddy Jake about this. I was like, man, Rode's really doing some cool stuff. And he goes, oh yeah, dude, their new mic arm is sweet. I said, yeah, that's cool. But like they reinvented a whole new microphone. They basically, so it's a MEMS microphone, which and I'm going to butcher this, but it's a micro electromechanical system. That's what MEMS stands for. It's basically, instead of a silicone diaphragm and a refraction plate that you'd put on any condenser microphone for the last like 100 years, right? This is a silicone-based chip, basically, that they put into their microphone systems. That's not new, because if you have an iPhone, that's a MEMS microphone. If you like any little electronic system, usually will use a MEMS system. Now, the problem that has like, why don't you use your iPhone to record professional audio, is because it sounds thin and there's a lot of like, you can't get the noise floor. And Rode mentioned this, it's hissy usually. Like you can't get a low enough noise floor to use it professionally. So these guys like totally reinvented this system. They've like tooled the whole thing through a semiconductor plant. Like they partnered with a semiconductor plant to make these microphones. And there's just some crazy stuff. Like when you take out the physical diaphragm of a microphone, you basically make this thing so much more indestructible to shocks, dropping things. Like you allow yourself to, like, it's a lot more indestructible of a system. They demoed something at NAB because of the way they basically like made this microchip microphone is they took the silicone plate and they layered, like they sandwiched it in between two other like water refracting plates. So the whole system is waterproof. You can put the entire microphone underwater, bring it back up, and it's perfectly fine. Not only that, I'll give you two more tech specs. What'd you say, Brent?
Well, let me ask you.
That's amazing.
Let me ask you this, though.
That water stuff.
Let me ask this, because I'm very curious about that. So with that as the technology and not having, I guess, that diaphragm, could it in theory then really kind of handle any level of audio coming in without peaking? Like you're going to get better than 32-bit float kind of thing?
So 32-bit would be like at the point of digital translation, right? So that would be your receiver. But because this is an electronic diaphragm instead of a physical diaphragm, you're right. Like you get way better results. Like everybody's that's worked in production has lobbed somebody up that starts to shout really loud, and like you crunch that diaphragm really easy, right? Like they're very sensitive microphones in that range. So one of the huge benefits of this technology is that you're a lot less susceptible to that. So pair that with a great 32-bit float system, and you have like almost an indestructible microphone, which is pretty crazy. The other thing, cool. So here's like, and I'm not a technical person. My whole thing is like, can it help me tell the story that I want to tell, and can it get out of my way when I want it to get out of the way, right? I just want it to work. So I'm sure I'm like not covering, I'm not doing these Rode guys justice on this one, but in terms of the size, it's 4 millimeters by 5 millimeters. So I was looking up like, okay, what's the difference
Whoa.
between a regular lav versus this one? Because you look at this thing at NAB, you go watch some coverage of it, then you'll see like it looks tiny. How does that compare? A regular lav capsule is about 4 to 6, so it's almost the exact same size. But the crazy part is, you know, when I'm comparing, what's the signal to noise ratio? So on this new Rode MEMS technology, it's 83 dB. Compare that to like a normal lav, it's 60 to 70. And then a really expensive lav is 70 to 75. So you're talking about lowering that almost 10 dB on the signal to noise just for this new microphone. That and the self noise on it, that's where it's pretty impressive, because you're not dealing with those like physical pieces as much. So the signal to noise is 11 dBA versus like 20 to 30 dBA on a regular lav mic. So just like imagine that, where you're talking like 10 to 15 dBA quieter. And now I'm nerding out about like a subset of a subset of a subset of the film community. It's like, audio guys, let's really geek out here. But like, for the normal, I want really great audio that I can throw in a bag. That's cool technology that I think is kind of flying under the radar because it's so audio heavy tech. Like, you go search this on YouTube now, anybody that wants to make this video does not have a lot of competition because there's not a lot of people talking about it. It's cool technology.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, that's cool. Are any other big audio companies doing that level of a small microphone yet?
This seems to be the first partnership in the professional space. Like I said, like MEMS microphones go in every smartphone that you can think of. So it's not totally innovative, game-changing technology, but it's one of these things where like nobody's been able to get the noise floor low enough to actually use it professionally. And so they did it, and it's pretty cool.
The next question will be, how will they implement it? Because now it's so small. I mean, obviously they're going to be able to get right into this DJI Mic Mini space, because their current little wireless systems are pretty blocky. You know, it's not a tiny unit. This opens a whole new world, I think, for what they're delivering.
Well, and it's a technology, not just a microphone. Like, that's one interesting thing that I found when they were breaking it down at the NAB booth, is they were like, obviously the lavalier microphone was the lowest hanging fruit on like what we can build with this technology. But it doesn't have to just be a lav mic. That's where, that's where I'm stoked to use it, because, you know, how many times have you been on a set and like the going standard of set audio is like you boom somebody and you lav them up. The lav's going to kind of sound like trash, but the boom might pick up too much, right? So if you can actually get to a point where your lav microphone has the same signal response as your big boom microphone, and you're not dealing with quite the same directional problems, man, that's cool for a lot of sets. And my question is, how much is this going to cost me? Like, what's my credit card going to cry when they actually tell me how much these things will cost? Because that's not a cheap. You look at like what very high end little lavalier microphones cost just to get into that like 70 dBA range, and they're expensive. It's not a cheap. It's professional work.
Yeah, but it might be kind of like what everybody's doing, like what Apple's doing. I mean, if they're developing the chip themselves, I mean, maybe it's not going to be more expensive, or are they going to make up all their R&D money and kill us on the price for a few years? Who knows?
Right. But if I think about what Rode's done, now I don't want to speak for them. I don't know anything about them, but they tend to be like, they're willing to sit at the top of the price bracket. But I've always said, like, what they put out for their price bracket is like, I can at least justify a Rode product for that heavier price. You know, like we were comparing these mic arms, and you look at the Rode low impact or like low profile mic arm compared to a cheap one that you buy on Amazon. It's like $100 delta, but it's not going to break. It's going to be there all the time. It's going to work great. Like, you can feel it. So my thought is like, it's definitely not going to be the cheap level, but they do kind of competitively price a lot of their stuff. They're not that company that just because they can is going to charge you 15x. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's
Yeah,
my hope.
I mean,
my hope. I'm
going into like professional audio, like as producing real content beyond just like an out vlog microphone that might get bumped, drop, things like that. You know what you can put a Rode mic through, like an audio tech mic through. Like
right.
they're meant and built, and you paid for them to last, hopefully way longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
For
my
sure.
thought. This isn't necessarily going to be the tech that goes out on your like run and gun content creator that's like shooting on their phone. But if you're working and you're constantly shooting interviews and you're every day you're laving somebody up, this is stuff that could last. And it's pretty impressive technology and a pretty impressive, signal floor that you're going to get really good audio from it. So hats off to Rode in my mind for like taking something that hasn't really had a lot of innovation and really built something from it. I think it's a cool tech.
I saw the Rode, the Link 2s that were kind of talked about with NAB and like seeing that new smaller design that we're all kind of accustomed to with our antennas on it. But that microphone stuff sounds wild. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome
I
tech.
liked that new UHF transmitter and receiver pack that they came out with, because I do feel like the longer, like the more popular these like low band, the 2.4 gig band microphones get popular, the more, you look at something like NAB where like you could hear signal dropout from these guys that are using the DJIs and the Rhodes and the Hollylands and the small rigs. And like everybody's using that 2.4 band. So if you want that next step up, that next thing that's going to be a little more reliable, I like to see that they're innovating on what, some would say, oh, that's old tech, but it's like super reliable.
Yes. That's
Good
why
stuff.
it was so widely used, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I want to talk about the tech coming out of NAB, and there's two things. So, but first, I kind of want to give a sense of Sony, the Sony booth at NAB. If you haven't been there, it's an incredible experience to go to NAB, and to call that a booth is doing it a disservice, because if you've been there, Cole, I think you've been there. It's roughly the size of the interior of a Best Buy.
Oh my goodness!
It's an experience. It's not a booth. It's an experience.
It's not a booth. Yeah, you go in there. There's a center section where there's models and actors in scenes, so you can see what cameras how they're going to operate, and you can test all the cameras and lenses. It's a wild scene.
I have seen that. Okay, I have seen that. That makes sense now. The size of a Best Buy.
It's huge. There are a lot of booths there that are what you would call a trade show booth. B&H has the weirdest one because it's like a meandering bunch of little booths, but it's all branded B&H because I think they let people buy spots in their spot. And so they're showing all sorts of stuff. And interestingly, I can't remember somebody, because I'm really into this extra product line now. And
I was going to ask you about that one.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
I saw that.
They had all of the products on display, and I was like, that's the full product line. It's just different color. It's hilarious.
So to just tangenting, since you brought it up, did you see their post on Instagram teasing the Extra 2 Pro?
Yes. Yeah, which means
that's
here comes
definitely not a DJI. It's definitely internet overlords. It's definitely not a DJI.
Definitely not.
Osmo Pocket 4 Pro. It's definitely not. Totally
definitely
separate.
Not 100% is not. Definitely not.
It so happened to be the perfect timing when everything else is being turned off. You can't get products.
Brent, that is a coincidence.
Coincidence.
Definitely not the DJI Osmo Pocket 4 Pro. That's a coincidence.
Yes. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. We talked about this in our last episode. It cracks me up that they have found this workaround by establishing Delaware corporations. This will be an interesting fight for a while, I think, for the people in charge. We'll just leave it at that. But someone had commented, like, what's frustrating is we aren't seeing a lot of new development these days. And I haven't even got to what I want to talk about, but tangentially, I think the problem is we've kind of hit a really amazing plateau. Like, how much better is my video, does it need to be or can it be? You know, we get these videos, and how many people now are putting stuff on to soften the image back up, to get rid of it's just too sharp and too good. You know, I get a new TV, I immediately am taking off all that crap they put on a 4K TV now. You're like, no, I don't like looking at it. So how much better? I mean, what are we getting? So I think what changes is what we just talked about. The internal stuff, the stuff that makes what we have better. And that's one of the things that Sony put out that I didn't hear about till I saw this one guy. He's a DP, he has a really nice YouTube channel, shows how to make less expensive things out of products you have. You know, grips, they're great at that stuff of like, how do we maximize what we have on set? But he was talking about this new Sony authenticity chip. And I just find this, as we talked about, scary and awesome that they're developing something like this. So the point of the chip is you know, when you take a picture with your camera now, you know, you especially see it on iPhone, it's very visible. You see the exposure, you see location, you see everything about that data of that picture that's sort of embedded with the picture. Sony's now going to embed in that data, this was actually shot by a camera, not created by AI. It's scary that we're fighting the robots. And at the same time, I love that somebody has figured out, like, okay, how do we prove this was made by humans now? What are your thoughts on this thing? Either one. Go, Brett.
So to kind of go off of this authenticity thing, I just saw that Tokina had done a photo award contest. And like we've heard before, the winner, they've actually backstepped it now, but there were claims that the photo was AI manipulated with the sky scenery and things like that. Then, of course, a background video comes up of when it was actually shot with the scene. So it makes sense, right? If they're able to pull AI images or think what AI images are and pull, like, you know, the stamps, the synth stamps out of them, can we do the same with real video that we worked hard to actually create ourselves?
Yeah. Colden?
Yeah. I mean, my question is like, because, you know, at least like I shoot everything on Sony, the metadata tagging in the video side is pretty lackluster compared to the metadata on the photo side. So obviously they'll have to like step up a little bit more, but having that every frame in that video is authenticated by a chip, amazing. And one other kind of tying into that, I want Sony to be the pioneer, is we just covered this a couple of weeks ago, is that this year at Sundance, Sony FX3 and FX6 were the top shot cameras for their documentaries. Wow. So out of, you know, they beat out Alexa, they beat out Red. Those two cameras have the most documentary films in Sundance right now. And so that idea of like, as AI gets better, as it infiltrates more things, can you authenticate that this is real? And like, if Sony's pioneering it right now, they're the ones that are kind of on the top shelf of who's, you know, being used in professional sets. It'd be a great thing to see more companies adopt to help fight the robots.
Yeah. And that FX3, and by default, the FX30, I think that is the ultimate documentary filmmaker's friend. Easy for run and gun. Amazing colors come out of that thing. One of the guys that works with us, when we've shot a couple things like concert videos, like just crystal clear, perfect color in a very challenging setting. You know, when you're talking about stage lights and all the mix of colors and stuff, you look at that, you're like, man, I would love to have about 3 of those, you know, as a kit, and just be able to go crazy with them. And while we're talking about, because I'm a big Sony fanboy, everybody has their thing, but when Sony took down the wall that Canon tried to put up, you know, when 4K first came out, Canon was not releasing that on a prosumer camera. They were like, oh, no. That's not available to you people. Even though they were the first ones to make the really good DSLR stuff. Sony was like, oh yeah, we'll make that. No problem. And so I've been a Sony fan ever since then, and I love their products. To that end, Brent and I were talking about what's interesting, the full frame boys, FX30, FX3, oh, you got to have it. But the FX30 in today's world with the right lens, why would I spend the more money to get that camera? Colden, what do you think of that?
I'll say two things on the whole thing. Maybe I'll probably say more things, but in terms of the run and gun, I would just put the FX6 just a little above the FX3. Only reason why, two things, especially if you're running and gunning, especially if you're a documentary. Once you go internal NDs, it's so hard to go back to not having internal NDs. I just a flip of a switch and you can stop down when you're going from, an inside interview to outside BTS, like those internal NDs and full port XLRs. That's the package. And they built it in the FX6. So I'm with you. Like my perfect package, if I'm shooting, a A, B, and C cam, FX6, FX3, FX30. I think they're like perfect complements to each other.
Okay.
And I love that. I mean, Brent, I don't know your take. Nobody's mentioned the FX.
The FX.
They brought that one out, and then everybody's been like, we didn't need it.
And a new rumor I saw, the FX3 Mark II, that some new serials or model numbers have been registered. That is a to be determined in the forthcoming. But it's as far as that. I mean, since I do so much still photography, I'm just running pretty much a Mark IV as my main for video. But it's adding a Mark or a FX3 to that. That's usually the step forward, but understanding all the built-in stuff you get with an FX.
Yeah. The 4 and the 5, like just the A7, 4, and now the 5 line, like they have really gone from that. That was, I remember a buddy of mine got the A7 II when I was still a Canon boy.
Yeah.
And like, that was their entry level to a full frame camera, right? And they've really taken that with the 4 and now the 5 even, and like, you've got 10-bit color, you've got 4K 120, like you've got a lot of great stuff, and you've got, what is it, like a 36 megapixel photo camera built into it too. Like, they've done a lot with that. Yeah. In terms of, Todd, just in terms of like the difference between the FX3 and the FX30, I've shot projects literally with both. And like you said, I mean, with the right lens, as long as you're like spending the money on the glass, they intercut perfectly together. The only thing I can say from being like the APS-C shooter forever to now the full frame guy is that you lose perspective a little bit when you have to crop in.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
a 24 millimeter is magical on a full frame. On a crop, it's okay. But like just that wide stance of a 24 and even 24, right? We're not talking like 16 or 10, like those crazy wides. We're just talking like 24 millimeter on a full frame might be like my favorite focal length to shoot, just kind of walking around, because it's it's wider than the human eye. So you get like a more distorted kind of surreal image of what you see, but it's not like Laowa's 10 millimeter thing that's just like crazy wide. So that you lose. Now, obviously you can go get an 18 or a 14. They make that in APS-C. You just have to kind of pair that lens package with what the FX30 is so good at. And then it's game on.
It's a wash. And they've even developed, and Brent and I talked about this in the last episode, you can get yourself into a nice autofocus anamorphic and throw that on there.
Sura or Suri?
Sura, man. Yeah. So cool. And, $1,000 and on an FX30, and that's money. You brought up a good point too, because the fact is, to my argument before, I still do all my work on 2 FS5s.
Yeah.
Fantastic camera. Those internal NDs are a lifesaver. I think I just take it for granted. I wasn't even thinking about that when I made my statement. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, ND it. And like, the fact that it's so variable, like you put it in that variable mode, there's like, I don't know, there must be 15 stops in there or something like that. It's crazy. So
once you have it, it's real hard to get rid of it. It's
the amount of times we've had stage lights where the ND is like, just throw a quarter ND on or something like that. And
exactly. Yeah. It's like once all the studio lights went to LED and now you just have a dimmer switch built in. Like, do you guys remember like when you had to kind of build out or rent those toggle switches for all the tungsten lights, and you had to rate it for like 5,000 watts because you had to toggle down. Now it's just like, just dim it down. So like that to me is the internal ND, and it's the only reason why I cannot. I might end up pulling the trigger at some point, but the Pixis 12K has been like Facebook meta marketing is going after me hard because I just see all of these like, look at how great the Pixis 12K looks, but it doesn't have NDs. That's the only thing where I'm like, man, just put like 4 stops in there and you like take my money. Just take my money because it's such a pretty camera.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I had built a couple of those big box out with a register dimmer switch.
Yep.
Homemade, because I learned it from a guy I was gripping with at the time. He had like a 20, 30 foot box truck, and he was like full on grip guy. And he was like, oh yeah, you could make this yourself. And I only fried one of them, but it was, but I figured out how to make it work. And it's pretty cool. But to that end, like this little light back here in the corner, I got this off a really cheap auction site. I just wanted a little texture back there. The light was $2, but it was way too bright in here. And I went on Amazon, and now you can buy a little inline dimmer that I was like, man, where were these 5 years ago? Like, it's just this great little thing that it cost me $15. Setting me out in the garage, torching things, throwing circuit breakers,
stuff into an electric. Yeah, but Todd, the difference is you screw that into a 1K, you plug that into a 1K, like what?
Well,
or a K, and you'll melt your whole house down.
Blown. Yeah, you're right. Good point.
It's great now that everything's kind of LED or low wattage. It's when we were, you pull a 5K off of the truck and you plug that Amazon thing in, and you're gonna light some stuff up.
You're gonna cook it. That was another thing I saw talking about LEDs. Someone came out with a new softbox that's just lined with LED strips. I don't remember.
I saw that. It's like nice photo.
Yes.
They spell it with an F. Yeah.
That is sweet and
how
totally
do you
collapsible.
Just like this, slide it back and forth, right? Up, down, color, up, down, cold, warm.
Yeah, because it's full RGB too. I mean, how cool is that? You got a softbox, nice directional light, and you don't have to pull anything behind it. It's just all built in. It's cool. I saw that too at NAB, and I was like, the other thing that's just so cool as a travel, like if you're doing documentaries or if you're traveling a lot for work, and I want them to get even better, and then I might, put the credit card down, are the like inflatable soft boxes.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Have you seen those? I want one though. They don't make a lot to a Bowens mount. They make them built in, which is cool, but like I want to take my 100D and I want to be able to Bowens mount a big inflatable source.
Yeah.
That would be cool. But there's not a lot yet. Please
get your sewing kit out.
That's
where we got to start.
Yeah,
DIY that thing. All right. I think we've exhausted that topic and we meandered quite a bit off of it. I can't remember what the third one was, but Colden, you had something, and I gotta look it up in my notes now.
I would say. I would say real quick, talking about the authenticity thing. It's like where's the middle point though? Because we have cell phones now that are processing so much information just off of one tap of the screen. For background, foreground highlights, rebuilding textures, softening textures, like our studio effect that you get in an iPhone now. Should that stuff be baked in too? So that way, no matter what, anything can always be looked up like you can a website, who the domain register is, where it's registered to. Same thing with pictures, who's got that copyright. But like, is there a middle ground that goes across video to photo to cell phones and AI content?
Well, I mean, I would argue that while that is AI utilization, there's nothing artificial in the scene. It's just blur or not blur, and lighting effects. It's not like I kind of, and I don't know if you follow Depo, but it's Maddie's brother, and he must have been sponsored by, I can't remember which art list or something. And he went to this epic location, and where the northern lights are, but it wasn't a great night. And then he used AI to like throw the northern lights into the scene. And I was like, oh no, see, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a middle ground there, Brent, where like, is it all still real? We've just changed the look of it, the filter versus, I've inserted a completely artificial background. That would be my kind of take.
Yeah, I mean, there are some
the Samsung zooming into the moon, right? When it's like, oh no, that's the real moon, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, there are some hardcore street photo guys that'll say, if you crop the image, that's altering the image too much, right? Like, so there is a middle ground to like, at what point can you like what edit feature becomes inauthentic at that point?
Yeah.
Like, what tool can you use versus can't you use? And I think it all comes down to deliverability, right?
Yeah.
And then the end user, we kind of touched on this. It's kind of a good bookend, is like, if you put the chip in, great. but then you're now kind of off-putting that responsibility to the end platform, whatever that platform is, to actually do something with that information, right? Like, okay, we put the metadata in, we're done, but like, so how do we as consumers of things, because how many times are you like on your phone just scrolling? Like, where does Meta say like, whoa, this was AI or this wasn't AI? Like, you kind of got to get the pipeline of that information out.
Yeah.
It's a great step, but like, where's the end go?
Yeah. It's because on YouTube now, every time I upload a video, you've probably both seen it. If you scroll down, there's a thing with, was this artificially created or generated in any way? And you're like, oh, no. Like, but at least they're asking, but I don't know that everybody's being honest. You know, and right now it's an honor system thing.
Well, and Google came out with their like 2026, 2027 pipeline for YouTube, and they kind of like walked forward and walked back at the same time. I don't know if you guys talked about this, where it's like they're kind of cracking down on more creators for AI content while also building like full AI funnels, like what Sora was kind of supposed to be, where you have full channels that can just exist in this like, oh, we'll give you all the tools. We'll let you use VO3 or VO2, and we'll let you like create, but you got to kind of stay in this playground. But they're kind of like, it's an interesting, like, at what point do they go, well, we're making more money if we just combine it all together again? Like, it's interesting where their roadmap is kind of leading.
I think the logic behind all of that, though, was that the problem, and you can see who they're looking for. The problem was you can create so much so fast of slop that people were becoming monetized without really doing anything. And I don't think YouTube liked paying for nothing, you know, and that's essentially what they were doing. It's like that guy, some guy recently got in trouble for, he created music and then used bots to get millions of streams on Spotify and was collecting a check on something that nothing was real. Not one bit of it was real. And of course that was fraud, because using the bots to get the streams, they got him on that. But I was like, that is wild. Like, where? So I think that's what YouTube was like, because if you look at the channels, I watched one because I lost my channel for about a week and it was freaking me out. And I think I was putting up too many shorts that looked too similar, because I would take a piece of content like this and generate like 12 shorts out of it. And I was putting it up too frequently, because the ones they're going after, there would be whole pages like it's rows and rows of the same video. They just kept pushing it into the system every day to keep the feed going. And that's where AI, Google. So I get what they're doing, because also they are doing what you said. They're setting up a thing where you can even create your own avatar and be a totally artificial person in their space. And theoretically, they'll be paying creators for that. Maybe it's a sliding scale though. Maybe if you go all into that, you know, because like even right now on YouTube, there are tiers for monetization. Maybe they're like, okay, AI creator, this is your tier for monetization now. Because it's like shorts, it's something obnoxious. It's like you need 4,000 view hours to get monetized. But if you want to get monetized on shorts, it's got to be something like 20 million views or something. It's like, whoa, this is a wide spread between the two. So maybe they'll do that with AI. Who knows?
Yeah, the short spread is wild. Like when you look at what you need for long form hours, yeah, it's an obnoxious amount of millions. And where the long-term hour watch is within the 365 days, the short form is 90 days. You need like 10 million in 90 days. Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild that you can get that many views, and you could definitely, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think that format works for what we do. You know, you don't have enough, like, there's too much depth to what we do to get people to click virally and get 10 million views in 90 days. It's wild.
Yeah, no, I use the shorts purely as advertising to the full video. You know, like you get a little clip and like, hey, if you like this, watch the full video over here. You know, it's really just a commercial is how I look at it, to watch the long form content. If you liked this, then you'll probably enjoy the rest of it. That's all. So the third topic we wanted to talk about, because this is one I can't get into. I can't remember, Brent, if you've played with it. I know you're a Final Cut guy. The world of DaVinci. And that one I'm very intrigued by, but you've been playing around with it, Colden. Is that your primary editor?
That is my 100% editor. And I think I get to say I've at least dabbled in lots of them. Not all of them, but lots of them. Like I went to film school when it was required you study Avid, which is like who uses Avid now, right? Like that was the only one you could use. And I was like the Final Cut kid going into film school with Final Cut 5 and 6 and 7.
Yes.
And had to learn Avid, which to me now feels so outdated. And then Final Cut went to X. They skipped like 8 and 9, I think. Or I know they skipped 9 and they went to X, and they kind of switched and made it that kind of fluid timeline like iMovie does. And I was I'm out. I need like spaces in between. I want to put my clips on a static timeline like normal people. And so I'm out. So I left Final Cut at X and I went to Premiere. And so Premiere was spent most of like the beginning of my professional career. Any projects I had to do was on Premiere. And I think as long as you have somebody else footing that bill, or you have like some discount, Adobe's pretty good at you got an education discount, you got a military discount, you got discounts to kind of bring that subscription into a somewhat less painful zone. But when you start just kind of, you lose whatever discount you had. I lost my education discount because I was out of school and running my own agency. That started to hurt. And then every year it goes up $10, $15. And so it was probably 2012, maybe 2013, that I was like, I got to find some other options here that are not charging me every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And Resolve's crazy where, it's like, it's free. One, they give you almost the whole package for free. You want to go try it out, you get it for free. There are some things, they're AI stuff, they're AI masking. You have to pay the studio version. They have denoiser, which they have one of the best denoisers, I think, in the game. That's in the studio version. But it's $295, and that's it for the license. And the other crazy thing is I bought the original Blackmagic pocket cinema camera. That was not a pocket, but it was, they give you the software.
Yeah.
Like they give you the software with it. So I got Studio in 2014 because I bought that little 16 millimeter camera, and they have updated it every year since then.
You're kidding.
I haven't paid a dime. I have not paid another dime. And now I'm like laughing even more because I get 3 licenses that they gave me because I bought their camera for $1,000. I get 3 licenses. It's on my laptop. It's on my secondary laptop. It's on my studio. And Adobe just went, nope, you can only use it on one computer because you're a professional creator. And obviously professional creators only have ever used one license for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my, synthesis story into Resolve. They're all about the same. I think they all do the same thing. To me, it's like you have to be fast as an editor. You have to know your keyboard shortcuts. You have to be comfortable in it. And I think that's where, because Premiere's been around such a long time, they have a user base of comfort people that are willing to just kind of ignore that charge that hits their bank account every month because it's comfortable and it's fast. But Resolve is continuously putting out new updates, new things. And, if you do coloring, that's what they were built on. They were a $35,000 piece of software for colorists in Hollywood, period. And then Blackmagic bought them and said, no, you can have it for free, which is nuts. But they have not changed. They've only upgraded their color tool. So if you do any kind of coloring, like the difference between Lumetri and the entire color page is vast. It's a huge difference in terms of what you can do. But the reason why you'll hear everybody not want to do it is because you have to wrap your brain around nodes instead of layers, which is a weird, Todd, we were talking offline. It's like my brain has to equate it to when I was working in a recording studio, and you'd have to patch an audio input, take an XLR cable, take the XLR into the preamp, take a 1/4 inch output out of the preamp, put it into a computer, and you'd have to connect all these tools that you wanted to use with 1/4 inch cable to get the sound that you wanted. If you have that mentality, the coolest part about working in a recording studio like that is you could take the output of a preamp and you could route it 3 different places, and you could creatively kind of choose how you route your audio signal, right?
Yeah.
So that is the main like brain breaker, I think, in DaVinci Resolve. But that's the power as well, is that you can really take one signal, one video signal that you've got coming in, and you can key it on one side, but that key is not going to affect your object selection that you've got on a different node, and that, you know, your color and contrast, you can be like separately editing that doesn't affect your key or your object selection. It's all node based versus a layer. You're stuck going 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Brent found a hack for working with that moving timeline. He told me about it the other day in Final Cut. What's your workaround for that? Because I think it's hilarious.
So exactly what you're saying, when you just want to put stuff wherever you want to put it, I pretty much just like will block out V1 as just a main, you know, either color bars or solid black color, and kind of build off of that as kind of my free drag around. And then everything
Have
kind of
they
just
not
gets
given
stacked,
you
like,
another option yet? Like it's still just that?
it's like that whole
He's
locking
incredulous.
thing. And like, you know, you switch to like the P positioning and for the keyboard shortcut, and like then but you end up with like blank spaces that then any modification will kind of suction that back to the original magnetic timeline. So
you know what's wild
I
about that
understand,
though, is that if you like that, and that's where, you know, top of the show we talked about brands or companies that were really trying to innovate for creators. They built, so DaVinci operates basically how Premiere or Adobe operates, with like 8 different ecosystem apps that you're going to use for different things within your project.
Yeah.
DaVinci just does it with a page system down at the bottom. You stay within the DaVinci Resolve app, right? But they have the cut page, which anybody that's on Premiere or Resolve avoids. Like, I would love in your comment section, please, who uses actually the cut page. But Brent, if you're a Final Cut guy and you are so used to that slipping timeline, they're like, all right, we got you. Brent and 3 other guys, here's the cut page.
That's it.
It slips around.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to touch it, but we built it for Brent so that when you want to come over, you can feel comfortable. We have a home for you. But they built that in. I've never touched it. I will say though, where that magnetic timeline does help is if you're assembling rough cuts really fast. It's great. Like I do actually really like a slipping timeline when I can just drag clips in and kind of get a rough cut done really fast. So I will give your Final Cut weirdness a point.
Like definitely the quick real estate turnaround edits where it's like, it is just, you got to get them out quick. I think that just kind of you're able to build real quick. Everything's snapping back and forth. Everything's quick skim control, all within one kind of, like, you want to call it window pane, versus having to switch between, you know, media browser, cut page, you know, audio, so forth. So everything it's pretty contained just in the one. There's a lot of like the skimming and scroll things that I love in DaVinci, way more than, like, you know, dealing with Final Cut, just going around a bigger timeline. You get lost very easily for scrolling way back without having to set up like categories or color tagging and things like that. But yeah, it's like the Final Cut for like a lot of the quick stuff. It's just build quick magnetic timelines. That's what I've gotten used to on that. So I'll have to go play in the cut page.
Exactly. Brent, it was built for you.
Yeah.
What I'll say, like, in terms of like building out big projects, sometimes I'll go back to our cut page. You tell me if Final Cut does this, but it actually has 2 different viewers, basically, where you've got that magnetic timeline that's kind of always centered, and then your clips are rotating around that. That's the Final Cut version, right? But then above that, it actually has like universe mode. I don't know if that's actually what they call it, or if I just like created something for DaVinci, but it shows you every clip on your timeline as from like the beginning to the end. It's your whole screen, but it shows you every clip, which I find like super useful, because if
that's
you
what I'm
have,
talking about. Yes, that universal over. Yeah. So
and if I know that I had a, you know, and you said like if you color code things, if I know an interview section in orange, I want to like just slide around, you can click and select that, just that section, and then kind of slide it over. So those things I do really like, but it's built in. I don't have to go buy Final Cut. And Apple's kind of starting to do, they're looking at all that money that Adobe's, you know, pulling in, and they're saying, well, we can do a subscription too. We're cheaper. We're only, what is it, $12?
Way cheaper. $12.99
Give us
a month.
$12 and we can do it too. Todd, we were talking about this. I just fear that even Adobe started out at just $12, $15, and you're like, oh, that's great. And then they get you And then all of a sudden you can't buy Final Cut anymore. You have to just pay for their license.
I
You have to
agree
do
with that.
any of that upgrades. So like and we'll kind of see, I guess, if all the new AI tools that Apple may end up kind of retrofitting into the new versions of Final Cut Studio stuff, maybe, well, does that become like, well, I guess I have to upgrade. My arm's twisted now. I'm stuck on the old version.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm such a sucker though, because I don't have that question in my head. It's not, will I upgrade? It's like 21 beta came out. Great, download.
Yeah,
They don't charge me
21 beta
anything
looks
else for it. I put in
amazing.
my serial number and I'm done. Like,
I was reading through the new features list of like the new highlights of 21, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. Like, so
Yeah.
I guess it's more of just like, properly learning the tool for the current workflow that I have and then adapting to it and growing from it. There was actually a web tool I found on YouTube. Somebody posted, they're like, go to this website and you can actually build out your workspace for Final Cut. Download that. And when you open up Final Cut, you can actually have multiple browsers. You have color wheels here. You have the timeline built here. You have a vertical interface built for vertical timelines. It was like, that's an amazing tool. But why does somebody need to create some freeware where you could buy this guy a coffee instead of this actually being a tool in Final Cut?
Yeah. I'll say that that's a negative on Resolve. It's a negative or a positive. I kind of look at it like an Apple ecosystem, right? Like if you buy an Apple iPhone instead of an Android, you're saying like, I trust you to build for me the most streamlined operating system ever. I don't need to tinker under the hood. DaVinci Resolve, like the critics of DaVinci Resolve will say, I can't move windows, or like if Todd, you're a Premiere guy, like you can move any window, undock anything, build your whole custom thing that doesn't look like anything else. I think to me, the benefit of every Resolve project, pretty much you can't move stuff around, pretty much looks the same, is I can hand that off to an editor and they don't look lost looking at my screen versus their screen, right? It's like, click over here in the top right. Oh, okay, I see it. Like,
Fair enough.
Different ecosystem.
I would say, and to Apple's defense, and not that they need defended, I don't know that they'll increase their pricing, because here's the thing that's always fascinated me, especially in recent years about Apple. They're really about selling hardware. So, Apple TV is their prime example. Apple TV's productions are head and shoulders above Netflix, HBO, everybody. Like their productions are so good. You get into a show, each episode's like a movie. And Matt and Adam have friends who work out in LA, and they were like, all the top producers are moving to Apple because Apple has unlimited budget and they're just scooping everybody up. Because Netflix, their only income stream is Netflix, and same with HBO. Like we just sell a streaming service. Apple's like, oh, well, we want you to have an Apple TV and also be able to watch it on your laptop and also on your phone. So we just want content. So they're willing. Aren't they the world's richest company at this point? I can't remember. I think they're up there if they're not the richest. They're willing to dump money.
Yeah, $4 trillion.
Yeah, they're willing to dump money.
A little bit above them, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah, willing to dump money just so that they'll keep you as a slave to the whole system, which is what they've done with me. So I am interested in their new creative studio. As long as they could find something like we talked about this After Effects. After Effects is so good, and the integration into Premiere makes it really nice. If there's something I want to do to spice something up, I can go export it or create and move over into After Effects, do the thing, and then bring it back in. And it's automatically back in my timeline if I save it. It does beautiful work. I don't think Motion is anywhere near that, or if they've got a product in the pipeline that will do it. But their other stuff is great. It's just, but I do hate spending $75 a month plus tax. It is painful.
Yes.
But I'm so comfortable with the system now. I can fly through edits like almost not brainless sometimes. If I do work for a radio station, and it'll be a 5-6 camera shoot of an artist in studio performing. Like, it's just like, I can watch Seinfeld on the side while I'm doing it. Like, I'm so fast in there. It's brainless, where it's like, I feel like everything would come to a screeching halt if I jumped into DaVinci. Like, I need a month to figure out what I'm doing. And I can't afford a month right now.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people like that are considering it, or they're kind of at that point where you are, where it's like, God, $75 a month. Do I really need this? Like,
Yeah.
just download it and play with it on, like go shoot your own little 5-minute project out in the yard, bring it in and like start
Yeah.
to learn on those things. Because the first few times, even when I started, because I was coming from Premiere, I shut the thing off and I went to Premiere and I finished my project. But like then you come back a couple more times, I sound like I'm being paid by DaVinci. I'm not.
No.
I just enjoy their system, and it sure helps when I've got 12 upgrades from them since I started in Resolve for free. But yeah, it's daunting, and that's the number one most important thing about an editing software is it can't get in your way when you need to
Yeah.
get stuff done. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people coming from any set, like Brent, if I went over to Final Cut, you can fly in it, it'd get in my way and I'd be frustrated with it and I'd want to go back to what I'm used to. So it just takes some time to kind of reshift your thinking. But they've put a lot of tools in that are, it's starting to get kind of compelling. For me, the big one, Brent, you said you were reading what 21 released. The thing that I could never shake, and literally up until like 9 months ago, I was paying $15 a month for Lightroom because
Yeah.
I could not find Darktable or go use this, or even iPhoto's a thing. But what Lightroom does to catalog photos, really, I just need it for cataloging. Like I can color correct in anything, but I just need it for like, okay, I shot 1,200 photos at this sporting event. I need that to live in a catalog, and I need it to be there forever, and I need to be able to go back to it. So DaVinci just said, you know what? If that's what you need, we'll build that into Resolve as well. And so they came
Yeah.
out with a whole photo page that does and I put this out there on my TikTok. I was like, hey, guess what? This happened. And it kind of went viral. And what was interesting about that is like, you got the DaVinci fans and you got the Adobe fans that were like, DaVinci sucks. And so what I saw was like the main trajectory of the comment, right? Or the average of the comment coming from Lightroom was that, well, they don't have AI masking that I can batch apply to 100 photos. And that's true right now in beta 1 of this new software. Like they don't. So if you are somebody who's like shooting portraits and you have 200 portraits that you want to go in and you have a preset that's like brighten the hair and whiten the teeth and like smooth the skin out, and you have all those set in Lightroom. That's so good. That's such good software at just being able to go like click and it'll reapply that to everything. So in Resolve, you can do all of that. It's just, you'll have to go in and retrack those masks for every photo. That's a pain right now. But my hope is this is V1. If they really want to eat Adobe's lunch, that's a pretty easy thing to build in to V2.
I think it was Matty Hapoya. He was talking like, if you're editing as a video producer or video creator in DaVinci and you're used to the coloring and all of that, then throw a raw image in there as a still and you're already, you know how to do the color space. You already know how to build color off of that. And why have two totally different systems when you're trying to create the same look that matches video to stills? If you are, for instance. But that makes sense. It's like, it's the same coloring style, and we're actually editing video or styling video a lot more now with color than we used to be able to. So it makes sense. And I think if they want to add in gigantic libraries and being able to pull the photo crowd away from Lightroom Classic, I mean, again, another reason for me to see software that like I don't have to pay Adobe. Yeah. Please.
Well, I'm the one that had me most fascinated with the whole thing Matty did with that slow-mo plugin they've got now. I don't know if you've played with that, but it is wicked. Like they were slowing. I can't remember. It was like down to 5,000 frames a second or something. It was insane and pretty good.
Was that a different plugin, or is that just specifically with?
It's in DaVinci.
Yeah. They use, I'll have to pull it up and see, but like just built in within DaVinci, optical flow. So you've got like different ways of blending your frames. And I would assume Premiere has optical flow. That's not like it's DaVinci only.
No, what was interesting is because he tested them he tested 3 or 4 different ones. You should watch this one. I'll send you the link. He went to like a Red Bull event. And when you sit and pixel peep it, you start seeing things fall apart. Weird things. The trees in the background start doing this weird warping. DaVinci's kind of stuck tight. Very little artifacting. Even though you're right, like Premiere has something that they all have it, but DaVinci, I don't know what they did, what kind of voodoo magic they put into their system, but it was wild to watch because you're like the hair was flowing in the sunlight, and you're like, whoa, yeah. So I don't
That
know.
same kind of object tracking and how they keep consistency frame by frame on their optical flow stuff is the same
Yeah.
stuff that blows my mind when you're doing their magic mask tool, which is, you would have to take your video in Premiere, take it into After Effects, use After Effects kind of magic track version to even get like hair flowing in the wind, right? And like that's something that DaVinci blew my mind on. That was 19, and then they kind of cleaned it up and perfected it in 20, which is just so good. Couple of clicks and like down to like strands of hair. It blows my mind every time I have to use it. And how long did compositing take us, like
Oh yeah.
in rotoscoping 5-6 years ago? That stuff's crazy.
Premiere has that now built in. It's really great. I use it on our videos, on my videos, where like I like to make a point of, like you always do, like not sponsored. So when I do that, I can just for that little second, I draw a little loose lasso around me, object mask. It immediately picks me out.
Yeah.
You push a button and it tracks every frame for you. Doesn't usually drop any. And then I can just put text behind me or whatever and be like, not sponsored, and it's a really powerful tool that, yes, but Premiere has put that in the last year. It's pretty awesome.
Todd, I want to ask you, because this has been a huge gripe of mine in Resolve that they did end up fixing finally in the beta version now. When you do that track, do you ever lose the track? Like you're just kind of working, or you make a change, or you Command Z something and you lose that track and have to retrack it? Or does Premiere do a good job at like maintaining that cache file all the way from whenever you tracked it to when you export it?
I mean, if you accidentally hit a Control Z somewhere along the way and wiped it, it would get wiped. But other than that, I haven't lost it. And if it's not perfect, it's not hard to add stuff to it. So I haven't ever had that problem. But I mean, obviously you could wipe it out if you were careless with your undo.
Well, I have fat hands, so I end up hitting keyboards keyboard shortcuts I don't mean to. But one thing that Adobe or that Resolve would always do is like if you nested a clip, or sometimes if you just went and like changed colors, or if you cut something, it was just the way they managed cache was not great. So you'd like start exporting, and then that thing that you magic masked out is gone, and you're like, well, what? And you have to stop your export and go back and retrack it. But what they did was now you can actually save that as a bitmap rendering.
Yeah.
And so literally like you have a black and white alpha render of that doesn't go away, which is a cool, maybe that was a problem that Resolve created on their own, that then they were like, hey, we fixed it. But
we fixed it.
It was an annoyance for anybody that's been a Resolve user to like get all the way to exporting, and then you've got that text sitting behind you and all of a sudden it's gone. You go, where did the mask go? So they did fix it, but it's good to hear that you don't quite have that same frustration that I have.
I mean, I've been known to, when I've had a really bad moment happening, undo too many times. That's for sure. You're like, what did I just ruin?
Yeah. But your whole timeline looks like different.
Yeah. I've been guilty of that. You see how far you can redo. Lost it. Done.
Yeah. I've tested that history panel a little too many times.
You and me both. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. And I hope, Colden, we can do this again real soon.
Yeah.
Really
I'm down anytime,
fun having you on.
It's the YouTube community out here, guys, is just like such an impressive thing. And I appreciate you guys having me on and just rambling and ranting with me. So this was a fun time.
Good stuff. Brent, thanks as always. Brent just came back this morning from a weekend trip, so he's probably still running on sleep right now, ready to back to bed.
Keeping up with the young kids, it's hard.
Dude, that's hard stuff. Yeah, I'm in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, me too. I'm old now.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Colden. Thanks, Todd. See you guys.
Yeah.